Hi guys, and welcome in the next video. So today I wanted to go back to our FANUC and I wanted to bring up a topic of timers. So I wanted to tell you a little bit more about the timers because I think there's other functions that you might not know about the timers and I would like to share them with you. So let's get started.
5, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0.
Alright, so basically what is a timer first? So we can use timers basically to measure time. What do we want to measure with it? It will be up to us. Maybe you want to measure how fast a clamp is opening. Maybe you want to measure how long does the spot weld take. Maybe you want to measure how does the program take. Maybe you want to measure how long does the robot run. Whatever you want, you can measure with timers. But this is only one way of using the timer. So that's where you're going to start at 0 and you're going to measure the time until whatever. But that is not only thing the timer can do, because timer can also count, let's say, down, which is not really down, but it can count from a value to a 0. So you can use it instead of using, for example, a timeout. So sometimes instead of using timeout and jump label, you want to use the function of a timer as, let's say, a wait command in order for something to happen. And if something doesn't happen, that might not be important and you just want to make a note of it, that hey, that doesn't happen, and continue the program, you can use timer in order to do that, and I'm going to show you how today. So what else about the timers? So timers has also one very important option that some of you might not know, some of you probably know. So timers can be used as a local or global. So the biggest difference between them and the most important thing for you would be that the local timers are executed when the robot is running. So you have that busy running thing in the robots. I don't know if you remember, at the bar at the top on the left upper side. Yep, that's where the robot is running, and that's when the local timer will work. Whenever the robot is paused or not running, basically, then the timer will stop with it, which is kind of important. And then on the other hand, you have the global timers that will run all the time. So they will never stop until you tell them to do so. So this is super important, guys, because depending on what you want to do, either you want to measure an actual time of something without interruptions, or you want to measure the actual cycle time, you need to choose between the local and the global timer. And it is crucial for you, and you might not know, and you might be taking your cycle times wrong because of it. Because the robot was paused or got a micro hold or something happens during the cycle time measurement, and you used a local timer, and you will never find it out because you just don't know. Also, there are some functions that are inside the timers of the newer controllers. They are not in the older controllers. And that is one of them is showing where the timer started and where the timer finished. So you can track the programs, because let's say you're going to start your timer at the very beginning of your main program and you might stop it somewhere in one of the sub programs, and it might be hard to track, but with that function you'll be able to track when it starts and stops. Again, depending on what software version you have, that option is going to be there or might not be there. Also, another thing is you can assign an I/O to the timer, and the I/O will turn on if the timer goes above 0. That's another function that you might or might not have depending on the software version of your robot. But anyway, that will be all for talking, guys. Let's get to the exercises. Alright guys, welcome to the exercises. So first let me show you where you can find the timers. So you want to go to menu. You want to navigate to next, you want to go to status, and here you have the program timer. There is also a system timer in here. That is more for you, like to get some information. Let's take a quick peek in here. So you can see that it shows like how long the robot has been on, how much the servos were on, and stuff that you might want to know. But today we're going to focus on our program timers So that's something that we personally can set up. So all of your timers will be here, and we're going to work with them today, so you'll see how they work. Okay, so let me do a double window here, and let's create a program. So I already made a program called timer, so we can actually work on it a little bit. So how can we set up the timers? So pretty simple. Let's put in some lines into the program. So let me insert like 10 lines, and you want to hit instruction. You want to go to miscellaneous. You want to hit enter, and right here are our timers. So you want to hit enter, and the first thing you got to do is set the timer number. So you have the timers in here. You can pick any number. We can do direct or indirect. I hope you remember what the indirect method is when you want to use a register number to get the number from there instead of using a direct input of a constant value. So for now, let's use timer number 1. And what options do we have? So we can start the timer, we can stop the timer, we can reset, or we can create a custom function. So one thing I mentioned on the introduction, but I want to mention now is the timers. How they work is you can start and stop them, and then you can restart them. So it will continue where they were paused. In order for you to start from 0, you need to reset the timer. So let me show you what I mean. So if you want to start the timer right now, so we're going to start timer 1. You want to, let's insert the wait. Let's stop our timer. And then let's start our timer again. So if we're going to execute that program, what's going to happen is we'll start timer 1. So you'll see the timer 1 running for 2 seconds. Then you will stop it. Let's insert the wait here so you can see that it actually stops. We're going to stop for 2 seconds, then we're going to start again. Let's insert another wait so the program doesn't stop. And you will see it will continue after the 2 seconds and going to count for 3 more seconds. So let's run the program. So we started, 2 seconds, we wait, and we continue after the 2 seconds up to 5 seconds, and then our program is finished. I don't know if you've seen, but what I did is I click on the run button in here in order to start the cycle, because our timer right now is defined as a local timer. So as we go to program listening and you want to hit detail, you will see that the timer is a local timer. So what does it mean? Let me show you. So if I'm going to take this program into a step mode and I'm going to step through the program, as I start the timer, nothing happens in here. Then I enter the wait, nothing happens. I run the wait. You see that the robot was busy, so it counted 2 seconds. Then I continue. I stop the timer, but it was stopped before. Now I wait, but it's only going to count when it runs. Then I start the timer, but the timer has started, but it doesn't really run. Then I go next, it still doesn't run. Then I go, it runs, so it counts and it stops. If I'm going to run through this program without the step mode, let's run from number 1. You can see it's constantly counting because we are constantly running. So if we're going to change the timer to a global timer, let's see how the robot is going to act. So I'm going to hit detail. I want to change the timer local global by hitting global to a global timer. Now I want to go back. And as you can see, now we have the G letter in here indicating that that timer is a global timer. So let's see what's going to happen. I'm going to put the robot into the step mode and let's run it. So as you can see, even though I'm in the second line, I'm not running, but I went through the timer start and in the global timer, that timer is going to keep executing until a stop. So if I'm going to do something else, I'm going to navigate wherever I want. Let's navigate to iOS, digital, that timer runs. Doesn't matter what's happening with the robot. If I go back to the program and I'm going to run the program until the stop line, when I go through the stop, only then the timer will stop. So if you're executing a real program and you will have a pause inside the program, for example, then depending on what you want to measure, you want to use local or global timer. Okay, let's go back to the reset thing. So as you can see, we kept adding to our timer. So that's not necessarily what you want to do. Maybe you want to measure the cycle time. So you want to make sure that before starting a timer, you want to insert a reset in there. So you want to go to instruction, miscellaneous, timer. We want timer number 1, and we want to make sure that we're going to reset that timer before we start it. So let's see what that is going to do. So as I run, the first thing, as soon as I run reset, our timer resetted to 0. Then you're going to start it. Then we're going to run through our logic. Then we're going to stop it. And then without resetting the timer, I'm going to continue until I get again to the reset and I run through the reset line, and that's resetting the timer. One more important thing, if like you've seen, we have a reset without a stop, the timer will just restart without executing the start line. So let me move the start in here so you can see it better. So if the timer is running right now and you're going to run through the reset, you just reset the timer to 0, but you are not waiting for a start line, it just continues to run. The proper way of doing it, you want to run through a stop. So you stop the timer, then you run the reset, and then you're going to start it. And that's how you should measure things. So guys, very important, well, of course, depending on the application that you run, depending on what you want to do, you want to make sure that you reset your timers before you start them, and you want to make sure that they are stopped before being reset. Well, again, maybe you don't want them actually to be stopped, but remember about that functionality. One more important thing that I want to show you with the timers before ending the exercise is I hope that you remember a wait instruction. So you can wait for something, for a function, and you can wait for, let's say, digital input 11. And then in here you have an option of timeout and jumping to label, right? And we can put the timeout to any value, and then if something happens, we can jump to label, I don't know, 5, that's going to be created somewhere in the program. So that's a one way of waiting for an input for a certain amount of time. And then if the time is exceeded, execute something. Other way of creating this, which can be a little bit more advanced, let's say, is using a timer. So you want to go to instruction, wait, the same, you want to do the function. So you can wait for digital input 11, or you can wait for timer 1. Let's keep using timer 1 to be greater, or actually greater or equal. Well, let's do greater maybe. Then a constant value. In our case, it's going to be 0. So what you want to do in here is before that function, you want to make sure that you're going to set your timer to some value. So what I mean in here is you want to do instruction, miscellaneous, timer. So you want our timer 1 to be set to a constant value. So you want to set it to, let's say, -5. So what is going to happen is you will see that inside timer 1, we're going to put the value of -5. Let me show you how that works. Let me stop the timer. Okay, so our timer is stopped. And now as you go through that function, you can see that it showed -5 seconds and immediately start counting. So this is like a countdown. So it's going to count from 5 seconds up, and then you're going to execute something. So let's say your DI11 is one of the clamps that maybe it's not important. I don't know, I'm assuming. So you want to wait for it to be closed, or if it doesn't closed, well, nothing is going to happen, and continue. And you're assuming that you want to wait for 5 seconds for it. So basically, as we run through that logic with a step, you can see that the timer is going to reset to -5, count down to 0, and looking at this logic, when it will be greater than 0, then it's going to continue. So let's run. Okay, we're waiting, it's counting, and as soon as it reaches the 0 and goes higher than 0, then our wait line is finished. So that's another way of doing a timeout without jumping to enlabel. I think it's an important feature, and probably you want to know it and keep it in mind because it might be useful. The last thing is remember that you can always, if you don't want to use so many timers and you want to measure a cycle time, you can save a timer value to a register. So using the same function as I did. So when you go to instruction, miscellaneous, timer, the same thing. Our timer number 1, you can assign it to a function, and you can choose a register. And let's say register 10. This way, you're going to store the value of register 1, of timer 1 to, that's actually the other way around, guys, sorry. This will assign the value to a timer. We want to do the other way. So we want to assign register 10 to be equal of a timer number 1. Right? Let me delete the other things as we don't need them. So what's going to happen basically is into register number 10, let me show you the register. So into register number 10, we are going to input the value of timer number 1. One thing to keep in mind, remember to stop the timer before assigning it to a register, because right now the timer is running, and as we run through that logic, let me put it in step mode, we will write the value down, but the timer will keep counting. So, well, maybe that's what you want to do. But if you want to measure, let's say, a cycle time, you want to make sure that you put instruction, miscellaneous, timer 1, and make sure that you stop it before saving it. This way, you will know that the value stored in the register is going to be equal to the timer value. So basically, as you run it, you stop it, and then you copy the same value into a register. And this way you can store a cycle time value into like register or few registers, or do some math on it, whatever you want. Okay.
All right. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like always, leave your comments down below. Give it a like, subscribe, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.